Just don't be lazy. Do it with some thought, with the collectors, the consumers in mind. Make the stuff that is hard to find, never made, things like that. You know, it sucks. Hasbro has truly lost the plot. They just make ridiculous decisions. A lot of the decisions are based on the fact that they are squarely tied to the hip of Disney. In classic Disney overlord fashion, they want Tron stuff put out for their new movie Tron Ares, and Hasbro says, well, best we can do is a HasLab, but then they decide to hitch it to their new HASBRO375 initiative, where they're going to go back to doing 1/18 scale stuff. But with everything Hasbro, there's a hitch. All of this HASBRO375 stuff is going to be little self-contained HasLabs. So they told Disney, sure, we'll do some Tron stuff for you. It's not going to be Tron Ares. It's going to be 1982 original Tron. And it's going to be expensive, like really expensive. This project is 5 figures, 2 light cycles, and a display base for $260. Okay, $260. So if we break this thing down Barney style, that's 8 items total. 5 figures, 2 light cycles, and a base. That's $32.50 per item. That seems ridiculous, but it gets even more ridiculous if you break it down. 5 figures at $25 each is $125. Let's say they charge $50 for the base. Again, ridiculous, but not out of the realm of possibility for Hasbro, which leaves the light cycles at $42.50 each for a grand total of $260. Any way you slice this thing, it's just absurd. Now, this hasn't even gotten 1/10 of the backers required to get funded. Doesn't even have 1,000 backers. I wonder why. When you look at the math, where's the value? And the project is kind of hitched to a movie that just came out, even though this HasLab has nothing to do with the movie that just came out, and the movie bombed, didn't even make $35 million on opening weekend. So this whole thing is a bag of cats, and we're going to take a look at it right now. So this is what Hasbro decided to give us. Introducing Hasbro 375. Discover an epic way to capture your favorite fandom worlds, characters, and moments in a 3.75 scale. We're going to come back to that 3.75 scale here in a minute. And glorious detail with Tron as a pioneer franchise. Tron's what they choose to roll this out with. Tron. For this new initiative, you can look for more announcements about Hasbro 375 in the future. Where will your fandom take you? Are they trying to spin it like 1/18 scale is some kind of new concept? Because it's not at all. And then here's another one of their little press blurbs that came out around New York Comic Con. Hasbro 375, the 3.75 action figure scale. Well, it's interesting. You can see how they're sort of changing their tune, right? Because they got to put that corporate spin on stuff. Like, oh, we're moving more to 112 scale. We're moving more to 112 scale. But they still had 1/18 scale for Star Wars in the vintage collection and the retro 5 POA collection. They were kind of doing Joe here and there, maybe one a year with the Transformer Joe collabs, but it was only the original designs. Here we go. And this kind of all ties into everything I had been hearing about the figure subscription service coming back for Western markets, for North American markets, over probably a year and a half. And then right about the time when The whisper started about Hasbro moving to Boston. Everything about relaunching a figure subscription service just kind of went quiet. A figure subscription service and a HasLab, well, they're both crowdfunded, but they're not the same.
It's science, people!
HASBRO375, the 3.75 action figure scale. Big enough to capture every detail, small enough to build worlds to proudly display on shelf. Let's beat that up. We're going to beat that statement right there up for a second. Big enough to capture every detail. Well, a lot of people who are proponents of 1/12 scale only said, oh, well, you can't get that detail in 1/18 scale. You can't get this, you can't get that, blah, blah, blah. Those of us who have always loved 1/18 scale said, yeah, you absolutely can. With a lot of the modern 4-inch construction and design, there's some killer detail in a lot of the 50th anniversary Joe stuff and beyond. A lot of good detail in that, but everybody was like, no, only 1/12 scale is going to get you that detail. But I'll tell you this, when you get a fucked up 1/12 scale figure, like that Lieutenant Falcon or a couple of others, it just looks like shit larger. Small enough to build worlds that proudly display on shelf. World building, world building, world building. 1/18 is the best world building scale. That's not being a scale snob, that's just pointing it out. The reason the scale has survived for so many decades, going all the way back to Mego Chips, Kenner Star Wars, things like that, Adventure People. The scale works well for world building, which 1/12 does not lend itself very well to world building. Is it possible? Yes. Is it cost effective? Is it space conscious? No. When you look at lines like Star Wars or G.I. Joe, a lot of these vehicles are characters. The Millennium Falcon is definitely a character within the lore of Star Wars. The Sky Striker, the Hiss, the USS Flag, the Terror Drome, they are all characters within the world of G.I. Joe. Without those vehicles as part of your world building, as part of your imagination, your playtime, it kind of loses a lot. But here we go. Not only are we kind of backpedaling on the whole you can't get that detail in 1/18 scale, but then we're sort of reinforcing the arguments that a lot of 1/18 collectors have been saying forever. I know a few people who like to say that, oh, well, 1/18 scale is dead. It's a dead scale. It's an old scale, blah, 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 blah. It couldn't be further from the truth. If you don't like it, that's fine. That's absolutely fine. Like what you like by all means. There are more companies putting out 1/18 scale offerings now than there ever has been before, especially when you talk about independent creators from the smallest to the largest. There are more 1/18 offerings now than ever before. And I'm kind of glad to see Hasbro getting back on board with the scale that it saved their company numerous times. And then, yeah, here we are again. HASBRO375, where will your fandom take us next? I guess that's kind of going to be like their tagline for HASBRO375. So the difference between HASBRO375 and the figure subscription service, a figure subscription service is you pay a fee. Over the course of a year, you get so many figures. Generally, it's 12 figures. Yeah, General Flag the Third, such an awesome figure. Generally, it's 12 figures, and then you get a 13th chase figure with a lot of these, figure subscription services. So this is one wave of a figure subscription service. And then here's another wave, the Hit and Run, Muskrat. Look at some of these awesome figures. As the only way that you were going to get Bomb Strike, Spearhead, Big Ben, or the Crimson Guard Immortal. And the only way you were going to get a lot of characters, which was rewarding for the people who backed figure subscription service, and it kind of sucked at the same time, because if you want a modern Footloose or Dial Tone, you're paying big money. Law and Order, so it's not the greatest, but It's still not a HASLab, right? Yes, you're crowdfunding, you're paying up front, but you get a figure every month, and it's not, I'm crowdfunding just a small wave of something. But whereas with a figure subscription service, you get all of this over the course of a year, the Hasbro 375 initiative is going to do HASLabs, and it's going to be shit like this.
Hold on to your butts.
This is the first offering for Hasbro 375. Tron? We got to go with the first Tron. Okay, well, you know, I would argue the first Tron's the best Tron. But, you know, that's all. Individual results may vary. And of course, it's going to be a HASLab. 5 figures. You don't even get the guard. Just get 5 figures and 2 light cycles with this frickin' display. Okay, sure. But it's a HASLab. There's that Hasbro 375 logo down there. So now instead of doing some kind of a figure subscription thing, I understand for this because it's only 5 figures and 2 light cycles. But we're going to talk about the price here in a minute, and that is kind of the barrier to entry. That's the big hurdle, especially when you talk about Tron. You got to launch this Hasbro 375 with Tron. I don't know. It's not even at 1,000 backers, and I don't know. I don't see it getting there. All right, so then we come over here and we look at the Hasbro Pulse website, and currently the Hasbro 375 Disney Tron HASLab, with 43 days and 8 hours to go, only has 869 backers. Most crowdfund efforts get the majority of their backers within the first couple of days, and this one's not really seeing it. Tron Heroes of the Grid 3.75 inch collector set. Is it 3.75 inch? I'm going to say no, and I'm going to show you why I argue that here in a second. Greetings, programs. Now's your only chance, blah, blah, blah. I don't really care about that stuff. All right, so here's one of the figures that come with extra hands. Now, look at this. This is modern construction. The pegs, the thigh swivel, the ankles, everything, the way that the forearms peg into the upper arms. This is my argument for 375. Now, Yori is smaller than all the rest of the figures. Now, when Bernie Loomis set the size for the Star Wars line for Kenner in the 70s, it was decided that Luke Skywalker would be 3.75 inches. It's not true 1/18 scale, but bear with me. Vader was taller than Luke. Chewie was taller than Luke. Obviously, Jawas are smaller, R2 smaller, Yoda smaller, right? But everything is relative. It's based off of Luke. Now, this is not O-ring construction. This is modern 4-inch construction. My argument is that Yori is probably 3 3/4 inches tall, but there's no way that Sark is 3 3/4 inches. I'll bet you Sark is at least 4, because look at Sark. No way he's the same size as Yori. This is not 3 3/4 inches, like stand it next to an old school O-ring Joe and they're the same size at all. Not a thing. And then, yeah, there's another one that's completely modern construction. So Hasbro kind of wants to reignite its love affair with the 1/18 scale. I think that's great. Now, granted, they've been doing it for the properties that they license from Disney for a while, but they got to earn that licensing money back. So they'll put out whatever scales they can, whatever items they have to recoup that licensing money that they spent. Here's my argument. If you want to do this Hasbro 375, and it's not going to be a figure subscription service, but it's going to be little HASLab projects here and there. Okay. Make it worth your consumers' time and effort. Make it worth their hard-earned dollars. Put out stuff that has never been done. HASLabs were initially supposed to be those dream projects things that never happened, that could never be in stores, like the Kitana, etc. We all beat this up to death. But what I'm saying is, make the Cobra Aspen helicopter. That was in Marvel Comics G.I. Joe issue #1. They never made that helicopter. Make that. Go back to the well and look at the 1995 G.I. Joe Battle Corps Ranger stuff that never happened. Do the recolor of the killer whale so you can get the Seawolf. Or all the stuff that's in Dan Klingensmith's Creating G.I. Joe volumes. There is a gold mine of unproduced stuff that never got made. But if you want to do Hasbro 375, here's my message to Hasbro. Just don't fuck it up. Just don't be lazy. Do it with some thought, with the collectors, the consumers in mind. Make the stuff that is hard to find, never made, things like that. When they came out with the Walmart Retro line, which, again, horrible name, whoever came up with that, just like Hasbro 375, right? They're shitty names. But when they came out with that Walmart line, my argument, put out the figures that were figure subscription service that are impossible to find. Maybe just recolor them a little bit so the figure subscription figures can still hold their value, but give people Dial Tone in a modern construction, Footloose, CoverGirl, all those characters, Big Lob, that were never released mainline with the Anniversary Joes. But the molds are out there. Those figures are out there. That's what that Walmart Retro line could have been. And if you just take a couple of seconds, and I know it's hard for people at Hasbro because they just think like, go, 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 like push out something stupid. If they would just take a few minutes and think about it strategically, think like a toy collector, as hard as that is for them in their weird executive offices.
Chad, how insensitive of you.
Well, there you have it, friends. I don't even know. I'm sure there are a lot of us who don't have business degrees, who don't spend our lives looking at, spreadsheets and things like that. We love toys. We know what toys are cool. But we kind of can't make sense of this, except for the fact that it's just Hasbro and Disney, and that's the only thing that really makes sense, even though it's senseless. I don't figure that out. I was excited about the possibility of a serious resurgence of 1/18 scale over at Hasbro, since they were kind of the only company around that really wasn't doing 1/18 scale except for onesie-twosie here and there. But to launch this Hasbro 375 with Tron needing 10,000 backers with a hefty price tag of $260, I mean, that's failure right out of the gate. That doesn't help anything. It definitely doesn't help the branding of this Hasbro 375 because, it's another Cookie Monster. It's another Reva's lightsaber. It's another Rancor. It's shit. It's garbage right out of the gate.
That's that bullshit!
And it sucks that there are so many of us in the collector spaces. It doesn't matter if you collect G.I. Joe, Star Wars, Marvel Legends, Transformers, any of these IPs that Hasbro has. A lot of us could come up with better concepts, better ideas to get customers, collectors, fans motivated and excited to want to purchase this stuff without the price gouging, without the stupid ass decisions. But it is what it is. That's the world we live in. And, at the end of the day, like what you like, vote with your wallet. And if you want to back it, back it. This video was recorded in a channel members only live stream, with the channel members kind of acting as a live studio audience. It's something I enjoy doing. It's different. It's a way that I can give back to channel members. If that's something that you might be interested in checking out and being a part of, by all means, click the link below to become a channel member and support the channel further. it really looks like this move from Rhode Island to Boston that Hasbro's doing is definitely coming down to the customer. $260 for this project. That's a huge ask, especially when we're talking about Tron. Does Tron even have 10,000 fans? Who knows? But a lot of toy collectors, you know, they get that fear of missing out and they just want to back stuff so they can get on board with everybody else. That's a whole groupthink thing going on. But as always, my friends, I want to know what you think. Leave a comment below. Let's talk some, I don't know, beats the shit out of me, overpriced HasLab, HASBRO375 foolery. That's that bullshit. Have an awesome day. Hell yes, give me an Aspen. Who doesn't say, give me an Aspen? Brad Davenport. Did anyone else not notice last week for my birthday when Brad Davenport popped into the frickin' live stream? That was the first time he's been on a live stream. Chad, you need a rattler? I can get you a rattler by 2:30. Fucking love Jeff. I love Jeff, dude. Moby Dick's dad. Moby Dick's dad was Papa Boner.